From beautiful downtown Hollywood, it's
Hollywood.
The Night is Dark, the podcast breaking down and discussing and complaining sometimes about Game of Thrones. I'm Ken Absock, and with me is Maude, Garrett, and Tiffany Smith, and we both, all three of us, both, you two, from both beautiful just downtown Hollywood, Kill the Bull, episode 5 of season 5 of Game of Thrones, and a lot of things happening in the episode, though it was still kind of a slow episode. It's kind of been a slow season. More book changes, which I will force myself not to go into detail about. Not all of them bad, just different. But we're going to break it all down tonight, and then, of course, after that, we'll have some fun with some bonus videos. But, Maude, we're here. We're ready.
Thanks so much for watching via live stream. We do it live, first and foremost, as soon as the episode that we watch at 7 o'clock airs, PST. There are a bunch of you watching as well, and I know that our Twitter feeds are flying, just flew, and that feed going fast and fast and fast, because everyone wants to talk about this particular episode. If you do want to talk with us, use that hashtag, #TheNightIsDark. That's the easiest way that we can find the discussion and any questions/theories that you have, which we will address at the end of the show. If you do want to chat to us all together, we have at Maude Garrett, at Ken Napsock, and at Tiffany's Tweets. And we are doing live stream via I See the Frog, so give them a big follow and like, not only on Twitter, but on this live stream also.
Oh, I was like, also, okay, I'll jump in now. So obviously, if you guys are watching live with us, but if you want to watch again, which why wouldn't you? You can check out Geek Bomb, the YouTube page. Maude puts up the video within the week, probably tomorrow or the next day.
Tomorrow, yeah.
And then if you want to just do audio, you can go to the Knapsack Files on Podomatic, Stitcher, or iTunes. And then, which thank you guys so much for checking out the bonus videos that we've been putting together. They're like 5 or 6 minutes, and they're on my YouTube page, Tiffany Smith. And this week's is going to be all about the characters that we think have had the best arcs in Game of Thrones so far. Arcs. Yeah. All right, so let's get right into this episode, Kill the Boy, which I think we all immediately thought was going to be about some child being killed.
Yeah, I initially thought that it was Mance Raider's son, because there was a little bit of a storyline there where, you know, he's just given birth, and it has a little bit more of a depth in it through the books, but I guess that's not, I was just on the wrong track altogether. It was talking about Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Jon Snow becoming not only a boy, kill him so you can become the man you need to be.
Yep.
And a quote that I hear over and over is to do what needs to be done.
Right.
And only a man can do what needs to be done.
Well, and it was interesting because I feel like that whole scene, especially watching a couple weeks ago when Jon Snow really mans up and chop that dude's head off.
Yeah.
I feel like that was him really stepping into this position that he was given, and it was awesome too because he tells him, he's like, not all of this is going to be fun, like you're not going to enjoy this job, but do what's right.
Half the time he's always being told half of your squad hates you.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what decision you make, half of them will hate you. So it's like, you're not here to make friends anymore. You're not here to be liked. You're here to do a job. And you know who does that better than anyone? Stannis. Coinky Dink.
Oh, what did you say? Did you say that Stannis does things the best?
He does what needs to be done.
Whatever.
That's all I'll give you with that one.
Guys, I understand we do have an echo. We're working on it. Thank you for all your comments about that. We are working on that right now. Aye.
Somebody who I think always does things right is the Maester.
Maester Aemon.
Just how he talks to Jon in those situations where it's like, Jon really needed someone. He didn't care what the decision was. He knows that Jon is in that position for a reason, and he trusts him. And so it was like, I don't need to know what it is you're trying to figure out. Right. I just know you need to do it. Do what you think is right. And then just seeing Jon actually follow through on that and go and talk with Tormund and just explain the situation, which I was actually surprised because of the things that came up where it's like, okay, well, we'll go and get these people, but then that also means that we need Stannis' ships.
Yeah.
Right.
I did notice one thing. I mean, someone had mentioned it to me in a Twitter previously. There's just been no White Walkers. There's been no mention of them. No one's even talking about them. There's no looming threat.
Yeah.
Which we
Until
have seen,
tonight.
I think Jon is the only one, apart from Stannis, who's just kind of more keen to take back the North. But Jon's the only one that realises this is a legitimate threat and is taking precautionary measures for the walkers.
And I think he is one of the only ones, but Stannis in this episode, you see, is actually conscious of it as well. And, you know, seeing Samwell really looking stuff up and try to figure out what the dragon glass can do, or if there's anything written in history that says this is something that really helps to get rid of the White Walkers. So I think that whole interaction with Jon, where he goes to tell all of the men on the wall what he wants to have happen, and he tries to explain to them, listen, do we want them to be on our side? It's better than them turning into White Walkers. And there really wasn't that much of a response from the Watchers on the Wall, which I was surprised about, because I'm like, some of you guys have seen them. Like, you know he's telling the truth. And that, for me, if I was in that room, I would have been like, yep, he's right. Let's bring him over.
What's in a fresher part of their mind is seeing their families and seeing their brothers on the wall getting ripped apart by the wildlings.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm noticing more and more here that it's just like, even if someone has killed your brothers, your father, your, you know, the soldiers or whatever, you've just got to move on like that, because you can't loom on the past and you can't hold grudges. But
because there's too much stuff coming.
Yeah, but I mean, that's naturally happening. I noticed that little guy that put an arrow in Ygritte's back.
Ollie,
Ollie. He's not even happy with Snow at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the themes I think that the wildling / free folk have kind of dived into all through the books and the show is changing your perceptions of a group of people you were raised to think one thing about, and the show does a great job of kind of explaining that it's still going to be hard. And how, if you're Ollie, how would you want to work with those people?
But I mean, if you're Sansa, how do you feel being married to Ramsay, whose father was the one that gave the go-ahead to kill all of her family, and then seeing Theon, who's been responsible for killing her younger brothers, who's now giving her away at a wedding? There's just so many of these instances.
Forgiveness was a big theme in this episode, wasn't it?
Forgiveness and not being too proud to save yourself. Like, that was one of the things when the moment when Jon is talking to Tormund and he's like, don't be too proud to not go get your people and bring them over here, because no, I'm not asking them to bow to the king. I'm trying to protect them and save your people. And I think that was such a big moment, because it's like, how many times has Jon come to people and said, don't be too proud to do this? So I feel like maybe that's something building for him, where it's like, is he going to come to a moment like that? Because though he is becoming this man, is he going to end up at any point being too established in the role that he's given, that he then comes up against something where he is too proud? Because he sees it in everyone else.
At the end of the day, though, he said the magical words that caused us all to drink, and hopefully you guys did as well. You know, the drinking game. Winter is coming. He said it, and he knows it to be true.
I think just Jon's, unfortunately, creating a lot of enemies, and that never seems to work your way in Game of Thrones land.
But I actually... As far as enemies, he's gonna have the wildlings on his side.
Whether they're really,
once they realize that he brings them over, and if any of them have seen the White Walker armies, they're gonna know that they're safer there, because that was the whole thing at the beginning. The wildlings wanted to come over because they wanted to be protected, and now the gate's gonna be open to them. They don't have to battle to get through. And then Stannis obviously is on Jon's side. You know, he's like, I hope you know what you're doing with the wildlings. I'm gonna need my ships back.
It just shows that Stannis believes in him. Stannis has that trust, because Stannis
is the
rightful
king. The thing is, though, 8,000 years of war between the wildlings and the crows, as they call them. That's something that you just can't click your fingers and make disappear.
But how many years has it been since they've had a full-on White Walker attack?
It's been in the back of everyone's mind.
How long? Well,
like balancing out those two time periods.
Generations and generations of it.
And after that ended, that was when the wildlings and the rest of the people fought each other.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, again, it might take them actually getting a bit wiped out by this new White Walker army, and for them to actually turn, which hopefully Jon is trying to stop before that happens.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that day, but you know it's coming, because winter
is coming.
Winter is coming. Okay. But what I did notice about this episode, a lot of it was held in the north, and there was quite a dreary, slow, bleak feel about the first sort of 2/3 of this episode, because we would go from the Wall to Winterfell, back to the Wall to Winterfell. There were things progressing. We did know more about Ramsay and Reek and Sansa.
Which I'm just going to say, guys, last week we talked about who we would pick between the 3 worst guys in all of Westeros. And I said Ramsay, because maybe there is still some good left in him. And he showed maybe a glimmer of it. And as we were watching, I was like, see, guys? Yes, he's still despicable, but I'm just saying there is a bit of good in him.
I would not go
maybe
Ramsay?
1%.
I still love that you find good in him.
Do you know what he's doing? He's realizing that now Roose Bolton has
I love that stuff.
upped his wife.
Yeah.
He no longer could be the... What is it? The
natural born heir.
The heir.
Yeah. I don't know what that hand action was about, Maude.
So he's sucking up to his father. That's why he's making peace and pretending everything's dandy, and he's brown-nosing.
He's also so easily manipulated, because in that moment where they're talking and his father tells him yes, you disgraced me in that room, why would you bring Reek in there, why would you put him in front of Sansa in that way, it's embarrassing. And then within the next breath he's like, but you're my son, because guess what, I raped your mom, and when she brought you to me I saw myself in you. And I'm like, well, that explains a whole lot as to how he treats women if that's how his dad is.
He's gonna kill him and drown him in the river. Oh.
Again, sounds a lot like Ramsay.
I, by the way, am pitching a new show to ABC Family called The Boltons. And tonight was the pilot episode. It's that wonderful dinner scene. That was touching. That was a family moment.
Can we talk about the crazy bitch?
Let's talk about Miranda.
Yes.
Holy hell, she'd be a crazy bitch. This is the one girl that can kind of match just how psychotic Ramsay is. Those two together, she is jealous.
It was also just the conversation where it's in any relationship, you never ask the boyfriend or girlfriend, do you think she's pretty? And he's like, what I loved is that he just, no hesitation, he's like, she's pretty.
Yeah, I'm glad you both know that. That's a good life point.
Right.
It never leads anywhere good. It never leads to anything good.
Does. Well, it depends on what you're into, though. They're into some stuff, I'll say that.
That's true.
I don't have sex often. Is that how it works? No? No? Oh, okay.
Not for most people.
But the thing is, she's like, well, I'll marry and I'll have my life.
Yeah,
No, you're mine.
Yeah.
You're my possession. Let's not forget this. Even though you kind of think you've got power and that we're equal in this, you think that there's a little bit of a fight. At the end of the day, I own you and I can destroy you.
Well, and I think that leads to her trying to manipulate things on her own. So she goes to Sansa and she's like, guess what? I'm going to show you Theon and I'm going to see if you go crazy on people. And it was interesting because I wonder, because of what happened after that, where Ramsay was like, Theon, is there anything, Reek, is there anything you need to tell me? So at first, when I thought she was doing something behind his back, now I start to think that maybe he asked her to do that.
What, Theon?
Because he already knew.
No.
He already knew.
Nope.
No.
But he already knew that it happened.
This is Miranda trying to cause a stir.
But how did he know that? How did he know that Reek had something to tell him?
He could have found out. Sansa talked. Miranda could have come up and said, "Hey, by the way, Sansa met Reek today. I don't know how that happened."
That's so Miranda.
Yeah, that's right.
Nailed it.
Isn't that so, Miranda? I know my Miranda.
You know you're crazy?
Yeah, I know my crazy.
Oh, gosh.
That's why I want to date Cersei or Melisandre.
Oh, God.
But there is hope in the North. Sansa is told by this woman who recognized her, saying the North still remembers. She gave her an out. She's like,
to light a candle in the tallest tower. What is it? The broken tower. The broken tower.
Room in the broken tower. And for me, I kind of had a wash of relief. Finally, this is the first bit of good news Sansa's had in some time.
Well, and it's also jumping off of the conversation that Brienne has, because you see that Brienne is watching everything that's going on. She talks to the man who is in the place that they're staying or running the place that they're staying, and he really, you almost see a glimmer of hope from him, where it's like, it's not just all of the North folk who can't really stand up. This is someone who looks like she knows what she's doing, that actually knew the family, that is coming in, that wants to protect Sansa. And so when she came in, you're like, oh, okay, the message got passed along. So you're like, Brienne is in a great position now.
Yeah, which is doing her duty. She is the oath keeper.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if someone's died, she'll still keep the oath.
Yeah.
which I think's kind of powerful. But what else is she going to do? Renly's passed away. Like, she's got really nothing else to live for.
Well, she has that
Jamie.
loyalty. She has that loyalty. She made oaths to him, made oaths to Catelyn. So yeah, she's got that inbred in her. You know, I think
Podrick's along for the ride.
Podrick, yeah. Yeah, Podrick's.
He will become a knight out of this.
I love Podrick, the character.
I'm a big fan, too.
Yeah, he is a great character. It's interesting to see Brienne up here. This is one of the changes that I got to say as a dedicated bookie. This is a great change because it gives her something to do. I feel Brienne at this point, prior to this, was kind of aimless, wandering, and just kind of babysitting Pod, and now she has something to do. She's close. She's watching. There's drive and action.
You can see how different her behavior is.
Yeah.
She's motivated. She's kind of got this new kind of vibe about it.
Much come into her own much more.
Yeah.
Where it's like even the conversation that she had with that guy, she like walks up to him and is like very direct, very pointed, no hesitation. She knows what she's doing and why she's doing it, and that this is what she needs to do in this moment.
Well, flashback before when she was just being a little bit of a snoot, you know, she was kind of being a cranky pants to Podrick.
She was,
she was just kind of a bit defeated. So she took it out on him and then kind of caught herself, apologized and went, whoa, okay, I got to get my act together. I'm losing direction. But she's got it again.
Yep.
One of our listeners tweeted in, El Machas says, I would be cool with Captain Phasma protecting me.
Yeah.
We've been
Yep.
talking about that the whole night. That is Captain Phasma from The Force Awakens now.
Yep. Yeah.
Phasma's again.
And just as we watched the episode, obviously, we skipped over the very opening scene of this episode, which, all jokes aside, we're like, the Mother of Dragons. It's the perfect way to start the Mother's Day episode of Game of Thrones.
Happy Mother's Day, Daenerys Targaryen.
It's true.
The greatest mother of them all.
And so we get to see kind of the aftermath of what happened last week, which was pretty heartbreaking and sad.
So Barristan is dead.
Yeah.
I still have to work through that.
Yeah.
Barristan the Bold.
But Grey Worm didn't die. He only just had a bit of a stab wound to his ribs, and so he's been on the mend thanks to Missandei.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's hearts in their eyes.
Nub love.
Barely. She barely kisses him, y'all. Barely kisses him.
And he would have had a little bit of
She turned the camera off.
a rise in the...
I know you guys are all really excited about talking about the nub
Sex.
rubs and the kissing and stuff.
Talking about sex.
But I was
Arousal.
more excited to talk about the dragons.
Let's talk about nub love, baby.
She...
Okay. All right. So I'll stop.
Danny definitely steps up again in this episode where it's like, okay, I'm going to figure out what's going on here. And no one's telling me, so here comes the violence.
Go on, Ken.
Oh, geez.
You guys know I'm always so at odds with Dany.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of her decision making. And once again, what did she do? What did she do at the beginning of this episode? She did exactly what Barristan told her don't do. Don't become your father. Your father would burn people alive by dragons or other means. And she goes right to that.
But I think that up to this point, even though she killed the guy, like I feel like people saw weakness in her when she decapitated the guy in front of everyone, but then she runs away. So I feel like this for her was the moment of, hey, listen, you're not going to tell me what's going on, and I know someone knows what's going on. So one of these high families don't think that you're safe because my dragons will take you out.
I don't disagree, but But this is exactly the kind of stuff that's crazy pants.
But I thought it was more warranted than stuff that they said her father did.
She was losing power in Marine. She was losing the grasp on her city.
Yeah.
They said, get the fire pits to bond everyone together. She said no, and she ignored tradition. And then
she said no.
And she did say no. And then she lost Sir Barristan, and Grey Worm was injured. So I think she's just like, oh, I need a compromise. But at the same time, last time she saw her dragons, it felt like she couldn't even recognize them.
Yeah.
And now they're very well behaved, don't they?
Well, I was wondering, there's no interaction that we see of her training them or going to see them between these two instances. And so I feel like she actually was almost surprised herself that they just killed the one guy, ate him, and was like, cool, we're good, Mom.
Yeah. Thanks, Mommy.
Yeah.
Could have blasted, like...
all of them. They were all standing so close.
Yes. And it was like just like a...
Yeah.
You're dead.
Some good comments in the chat room. Matt Brown wonders, can we assume that this was Grey Worm's first kiss?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Jay Shuffleboson, who is himself up in the wall, a good friend of mine, he says Danny did become her father right then. And Rachel Cushing says Danny's tactic didn't work. Using her dragons to threaten the Masters didn't give her anything. Good points on that opening scene.
But she ended up giving her hand to his dar.
Right?
I think that's what opened that conversation up, though.
Killing another person?
Yeah, because I don't think he realized what she was at, the length she was actually willing to go to. And then once he saw that, he was like, that's why he says Valor Margulis. And he even admits to it in the end where he's like, I just didn't want to die like a coward. I wanted to be brave in that moment. But guess what I realize now? I don't want to die, so I'm going to do whatever I need to.
Yeah. So if you want to win someone's hand in marriage, burn one of their friends alive.
Exactly. I mean, if you've got a dragon laying around, that's what they're for.
Hold on. Let's all have a group discussion here and make sure your comments are heard either on Twitter or in the chat on the live stream. Was his dar
Zolorak?
His dar Zolorak, was he responsible for Sansa the Harpy?
Yeah, I think he's the Harpy.
I do too. This is the only guy that we've seen in the council room every single time there's been a discussion. He's the one really putting the hard one on Danny and getting no every time. No. Time. I think that he's doing it. So for Danny to then propose to him, I'm like, whoa. You are not educated about this man, sweetheart. Now you're going to marry him?
But I think that's where it's like she wants to keep your enemies closer. Where it's like, if I get this guy this close to me and I'm around him all the time, I'm going to see things.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tiff.
I think
you're
she
right.
has a clue. I think she does have a clue.
She's going to marry. This is strategic. It's political.
Absolutely.
It's smarter in part. She's still going to nail Dario in the side, I think. Good that Dario dude butt.
Well, dude, because his Dar is going to be terrified of her all the time. They have an argument and she's like, go hang out with my dragons, bro. Go hang out with the dragons.
It's going to be a great marriage.
And let's be honest, like out of all the heads of the families that were there, he was the better looking guy.
Well, like, I don't even remember who the other ones are.
One of them dead.
Yeah, well, one's ripped apart 2 pieces.
That was quite a
dragon's tummies.
Violent blood splatter too. That was like a.
That was
yeah.
There
was a collective.
Yeah,
ooh.
of all the Game of Thrones deaths, that was probably one of the more brutal, I think.
Yeah,
and again goes to my thing.
Nothing beats the eye popping.
Yeah,
nothing beats the.
Oberyn eye popping.
Yeah,
that might. You're right. That might be of all the brutal deaths. We should do a list of that one time.
Yeah.
Of all the brutal deaths, that was it. But that, I mean, it was very reminiscent of Lance Henriksen and Alien getting ripped apart in 2.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right, Ficus?
Bishop.
Am I right? Yeah. Bishop goes.
So hold on. What does this mean for Marine then? If she does marry his Dar, what does that mean?
Are we back yet? Dun, 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 dun. That's the worst version we've ever done. All
right.
We're back, guys.
We are back on track with The Night is Dark. That was for you.
Yeah, guys, soz about that one. We hit maximum capacity here and everything kind of wigged out. But we are back on track to talk about the rest of episode 5, Kill the Boy. When we last spoke, we were talking about how Brienne was changing her character, how she's doing things great now. And then we were talking about Daenerys Targaryen pretty much popping the question to Long Nails, otherwise known as his Dar.
Yeah, I when he puts his hands up, I was like, dang, those nails are long. A little creepy. Little dragon nails.
And there was a time there, if Sir Barristan's out, that means she needs like a wise voice on the council, because Daenerys at one stage was going to Missandei for help.
Yeah, well,
I love that.
Yeah, I did too. Go ahead, Ken.
No, I love that. I love that
I love her.
Natalie Emanuel's. She ain't ugly.
Very pretty.
So attractive.
I like too that Missandei called her out a little bit. It was like, I've heard you take advice and then ignore the advice.
Yeah, perfectly good advice.
I sound like the roadie from Wayne's World 2. And then I kicked his head for the brown M&Ms. But then she, I think, gives her bad advice and is like, but sometimes you make the right decision on your own. No, I don't think she does. But I think maybe here Dany, for the first time, does on her own make a great decision.
I also
think it's a good decision.
I think it's a very great political decision. To marry Hisdar. It's not out of love, clearly.
No.
Reopen the fighting pits.
But who gets married out of love in Westeros?
Who gets married out of love ever? What?
Yeah, did you guys see Bruce Bolton's
Stop being
wife?
such a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, this is such a short-term solution. She's trying to fix Meereen so that once that's all settled, she can then take Westeros. And I just think that marrying like that, that's a political move, a huge power play that she's using up.
But do you really, I mean, we saw how easily she killed that guy and didn't care. Do we really think that once she gets to a point where it's like, okay, you've done all I need you to do, my dragons are hungry. Like that could potentially happen. Once she gets what she needs to have happen when she moves on, because she's not going to stay in Meereen forever.
They would need to go to marriage counseling because that is not a good marriage.
I don't think it's laid out that way.
Look, hey, you're underestimating Hisdar maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
Whether he's a harpy or not, he might be like, "Oh yeah, married's a good idea. Why don't we have a party and I'll serve you some dates?" What? Yeah, like
I don't know what
he can be. He be in control.
Serve you some
dates. It's a thing.
Being attacked by the stone people.
Yeah.
Oh, the stone men maybe are attacking.
The stone men. What?
This episode is falling apart, much like a boat trip through Valyria.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, guys, our podcast might be a little more exciting, a little more up in the air than the episode was.
That's true. This is the most
Your face is in there so much.
I think there was a lot of good things in this episode, though. I think there was a lot of things. It was slow, though.
It was very slow.
This season has been slow. Maybe we should just discuss that. It's been a slow season.
Yeah, I've been waiting for like the powwows.
Yeah.
We get a little bit. Like, I mean, at the end, okay, let's talk about it. I was going to say, now that Severus is gone, there's perfect room for not only Ser Jorah, but someone like Tyrion, who is a smart, wise person that actually knows how to rule, to come in and help Daenerys in there. And they're on their way to Meereen.
This is like backtracking a smidge, but did you know what I think is interesting? Where it's like, we've talked about this on the show, where it's very much a show about the women ruling and the women in power, and could a woman actually be in power? That I thought it was interesting that Missandei is the first person to really come in and be completely upfront with Dany, and Dany takes it. Yeah. And she actually gives her good advice and leads her in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's an excellent point.
So I'm curious to see, with Jorah coming back, is she going to develop more and more of a trusting relationship with Missandei, and then he's going to come back and it's like, maybe she shouldn't listen to the dudes, because clearly it doesn't work that well for her in some cases.
Maybe that's a good point. I like that they brought in Missandei in that capacity, and that would make sense that Dany would. She would reach out to anyone around her who's close. Yeah. She would do that. That's kind of the good part of her character. Yeah. And I say good part, not intimating that there's bad parts of her. I think she's still growing as a person and a leader. Yeah. Just makes a lot of mistakes for me.
Well, there is room in the council at the moment, and two people are on their way to get to Meereen, and that is Jorah and Tyrion. Yeah. And it kind of seemed like another normal little trip in the boat.
Just a little stroll.
With Tyrion, who was having alcohol withdrawals like a mofo.
I wrote down that quote because I think I'm going to need...
I'm a person who drinks.
I am a person who drinks. I'm going to need to get that in a t-shirt form.
I'm a person that drinks. Go to Australia. Man. That's our slogan.
Yeah. But the interaction between them, again, what they do so well on this show is partnering up people. Yes. People that you're not sure will actually work well together, and then you see a relationship develop between them. And
well, these guys started sharing poetry together. Like Tyrion was kind of, musing to him, and he picked it up and set it back, and I was like, oh, this is a bonding session. And then boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
So the whole conversation comes up because they're going through Valyria. Yes. And there is rumors about what goes on in Valyria, what it's like now, that doom still rules, that demons and flame have taken over, and that's what brings up the poetry that they're saying.
They go into the history of Valyria. Valyria is gone. It doesn't exist anymore because the doom of Valyria happened thousands of years ago. Basically, imagine a giant volcano, and it wiped out the whole city.
Kind of like Vesuvius.
Yeah. Exactly. No, very much like that. It's very Pompeii, which starred Kit Harington.
That is a 2-degree separation. Right
yeah.
there.
So it's kind of the history, and you're getting and they're educating the viewer in a very entertaining way, and that was the poem and all that kind of stuff. They're talking about their history, and then all of a sudden.
And this is the thing, because we hadn't had any kind of wow moment. And then we knew this was happening because the billboards, because this is like the only kind of still image that we've seen. Them on a boat, and you see Tyrion seeing this giant dragon coming through.
Yeah, which...
His face. Oh.
I still feel like on those billboards, it looks like he's on a way bigger boat than what he's on.
Totally.
And now they're on like a rowboat.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe it's going to happen again.
Well,
because we got the conversation about the boats with Stannis and Jon and dragons, and so maybe he'll end up on a boat at another point. Maybe that wasn't the scene.
The posters, I got to say, the posters made the book readers kind of think something was going to happen or another direction, because it is a bigger ship.
Yeah.
But also it's this little rowboat. Yeah. So I thought the posters were just a lark, just a fake thing that they put together. So to actually see it and realize that Tyrion, he's seeing a dragon for the first time.
First time.
And Jorah's kind of like, oh, hey, it's Drogon. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Whoa,
he's not. He's like, whoa, last time I saw you were like, up to my knee.
I'm like crawling all around my girlfriend.
Yeah.
It also reminded me of, which we'll get more into this, a lot of this scene reminded me of stuff from Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Where they're first going through and the kings of old are standing there.
Yep.
As they go through and are looking up.
Yeah.
And they're on the small boat. And then, when Tyrion falls into the water, was it not reminiscent of Sam and Frodo, where he's like, I'm coming with you, and he reaches in and grabs him. So it felt very Samwise and Frodo for me, and I loved that.
But before that was you guys. We all jumped
when
the Stone Man came. But one of you mentioned it off air that was. They played us so well.
Oh, absolutely.
We got caught into that moment.
Dragons,
and all of a sudden,
and there was this like tiny bit of movement, and all of us at the same time just went, "Whoa!"
What's that?
And then it was like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "That's really us." And then we kind of see an interesting, full-on battle. We'd only ever heard about the people that had suffered from grayscale. We all know that they were sent off to Valyria. We know whatever. We heard Gilly talk about her sisters being affected, saying they turned mad. They were like ravenous animals. That's kind of all you heard from that. And then you just never knew what happened to them until now. Grayscale is a real thing and it's dangerous.
And it seemed really interesting to me because the way I loved how they actually have like been dropping seeds and planting the story of about what these people are actually like. But I didn't, in my mind, envision them working together, and that attack felt very like, you go, then there's some of us under the water and we're going to attack this boat. I mean, it could still be like mangy beasts that don't know what they're doing, but
well, that's a good. They're people. They're not zombies. They're not creatures. They're people with this disease who've just gone mad. So they're like, you're right to notice that they're working together. That would make some sense. This is a little bit of a book change. It happens in another city. That's all it is. There's no other big change. Well, there's some giant changes. Some characters that we now know are not in the show, which is huge. Huge, I say, with a capital H-U-G-E. It's huge that they're not in the show. But this is all consolidating it into one kind of interesting thing, and it all is on Ser Jorah's wrist.
That, for me, again, that scene where they wake up, and all of us, I think, thought for a moment this was going to be the ending of the episode.
Yeah.
When Tyrion's getting pulled under, and we're like, are you kidding?
That was a really tense, and they did that on purpose. The editing made you hold out on a blank screen
and hold your breath.
I did not breathe. During that, I was just like, because this is the first kind of action that we've had. You just didn't know what was going on. He was getting pulled into darkness, and then Ser Jorah had rescued him.
Because he's a good dude. Plus, he needs him.
He needs another friend. I mean, he's only in the friend zone.
It's his prize. Well,
he wants to get Dany back, and he needs Tyrion to do it. But that moment where he says, "Did you get touched?" No. I forgot too that it was like that's how it spreads. You can't get touched on the skin by someone with grayscale. And I'm like, I definitely thought Tyrion got grabbed. I don't know about you guys. If you thought he did, let us know in the comments in the chat.
There's already a little on my Facebook page. Brandon Degnar and my good friend Jay are already debated a little bit. His shoe was touched, not his skin. Jay says they grabbed his ankle. I saw it and I said, well, it's Tyrion. That might not be his ankle. Wink.
So you're saying he has grayscale somewhere else?
Oh, wow. Grey dick.
So, bottom line is, though, I think
We're all
that...
thinking it. I'm
The alternate to Viagra.
Grey dick.
The grey dick.
Grey dick. I think
I'm gonna
Tyrion's
pummel you with
fine.
my column.
What?
Sorry.
I think Tyrion's fine. Jorah clearly is not, and I don't know how quick the disease spreads. I don't know.
That seemed pretty quick. Like he got touched and then looked down
That's
and there
quick,
it was.
but yeah, he might have some time to get to where he needs to
We
go.
only know one person
Yeah.
that survived the grayscale, though.
Well, oh yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Shireen.
Shireen, yeah.
Who got a lot of treatment that was sent in. A lot of like magisters, people that work with
Maesters, yeah.
maesters. What are they?
Maesters, yeah.
Medicinals.
Tonics.
Witch doctors, tonics,
Sorry.
whatever.
Tinctures.
All of it.
Hashtag Grey dick is going.
Our listener,
Yes.
our listener, Great Dick is trending, and our listener at Jorah Mergelli says Jorah went from Sir Friend Zone to Sir Quarantine Zone.
Yeah,
Oh.
very well said.
It's also, I wonder, I think, David, you just said this, he'll just cut his arm off. And I'm like, it's very zombie-ish. Could he just chop his arm off and would that stop it? Then we'd have another Jamie, one-handed
Well,
warrior.
let's find out.
High five.
You
Oh.
first.
Yeah. But at that moment, at least I would try and I would gouge it out. I'd be like, can I just, cut and burn it? Why not?
Yeah, seal it with fire.
Yeah.
I would try it. At that point, I'd be like, either I'm going to die and turn into one of them, or I'm going to
Remind me never to be sick around you.
Hey,
Let me cut it out.
I could save your
Cut
life.
it out.
I could save your life.
So the 5 episodes that we've had, it does seem a little slow moving, but like we've been comparing it to a chessboard, and the pieces have been moving all around the board and going into place. And I think Rachel had mentioned in the comments earlier that it just seems like they're lining up things for them to just have an onslaught. All the pieces are going into a position to attack. So hopefully these next few episodes, we're going to get big things happening. There's something that didn't happen in this episode. Again, no Arya. This is the second week we haven't seen her, but she's in a bit of a lull. We compare her to being on Dagobah with training on with Yoda. But there was no Cersei.
No Jamie.
Believe you me, I took note of that.
Do you think not having Cersei, and we've seen a lot of progression with her over the last few episodes, not having her, did that affect this episode?
For me, yes, because I think there's a lot to the High Sparrow and the Faith Militant and her fall that I am interested in, and to see where they're taking it. And I missed it a little bit. Give me a sliver. Give me a sliver. But that's part of the problem is you have so much character bloat. I talk about book changes all the time, but I get it. There's a lot to get to. But sometimes I've just... Yeah, give me a little bit of Cersei.
I don't think her missing or not seeing King's Landing in this episode was what made it feel slower. I just feel like there was a lot of, like you said, things being moved into place. The stuff with the Boltons where it was like, okay, we need to make sure that Ramsay is showing his hand, but not really, that he realizes his position is still like a little bit shaky. We got the pieces put into place at the wall where it's like, okay, Stannis is on his way. Jon's going to go over here. So I think it was just one of those episodes where we did have to get the pieces moving in the right directions. And I don't think seeing more with Cersei would have added to that. I think for me, I was like, we got a lot of stuff with her in the last episode. I still think last week's episode was my favorite of this season so far.
Agreed.
But I don't need to see all the characters every episode.
I don't either. It's just... when Miranda's not a book character, and so you're spending a lot of time with this daughter of a kennel girl who's just a scorned girlfriend right now, and it's kind of interesting stuff.
CB.
But
Crazy bitch.
Crazy bitch. But you're spending a lot of time with her, and there's stuff you're cutting out that I'm not seeing, so I'm kind of like...
But just because it's getting cut out right now doesn't mean you won't see it down the line. And I'm like, I do, for me... That interaction is the more interesting because I'm like, what is Sansa doing? I mean, we barely even spoke about the fact when she goes down there and sees Theon, and like that moment for her was pretty crazy because she's like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with the fact that 1, he's here, 2, he's been turned into something that I don't remember, or didn't know him as, and just seeing what Ramsay is gonna be like in this world because that is the major game piece. It's King's Landing versus Stannis versus the Boltons. And so last week it was a lot more about King's Landing. We got a lot more about Stannis. And now I'm like, I really do want to keep seeing what's going on because I totally forgot that Bolton was married to that girl who he married the heaviest daughter so he could get the most money. I forgot about that stuff. So
heavy set Frey.
Yeah.
And it was a great moment with Sansa too. I did like you got to spend some time with that. I don't disagree with that. It just and Sansa being at the spot where Bran fell was a good little moment.
It was like talking about remembering things.
Yeah. It's a great little sad little moment, but a good one.
And there is still more father-son bonding between Roose and Ramsay. He's like, you know what? Stannis is in the north. He wants to take back what we've got. You and I need to bond and band together to save Winterfell and to, make sure that we hold on to it. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing how the war is forming because we know where Baelish, Littlefinger, what he plans will happen. He's got all, he's on...
Well, where's he right now?
He's heading back to King's Landing.
Yeah, but he's on Stannis' side, if I'm not mistaken.
He's betting on Stannis.
Yeah.
Exactly. So... You've got, you'd think, how long is Winterfell going to last when Stannis is already on the march?
Well, and I'm completely blanking.
And Snow's going the wrong way.
Where's the one that Tyrion was with? Why am I blanking on his name?
Varys.
No, Varys. Where's Varys? We didn't see what happened to him after Tyrion got taken.
Because
he's not having fun in the brothel because he don't have no bits no either.
Nub, love.
Nub, rub.
You know what?
He doesn't do that.
He has nothing to do. He has nothing to do. No, I mean, jokes
he has
aside,
no nub.
His character has nothing to do at this point.
Oh.
His character, there's nothing. The fact that he's even in Essos is a departure from the books because if not, we wouldn't see him at all. There's just he's just sitting around going, oh no, Tywin's dead and there's a plan unfolding and that's...
But in the TV show, he knows where a lot more pieces are moving.
Yes,
so I'm interested to see,
change.
Does he know Tyrion got taken by Jorah? Does he trust that? I wouldn't be surprised if he saw it happen and he's like, I know where Jorah's going to take him. And guess what? He'll probably get him there faster than I can.
You got this.
Yeah, a lot of people during the week were tweeting that for some reason to me. That Varys, I think, had no idea. I think he was panicked. I think he didn't want to go in that brothel. Jorah wasn't supposed to be there.
I don't think it was that planned out, but I would not be surprised if he saw Jorah and he knew that. And when he saw him take Tyrion, he was like, okay, I'll let that happen.
Think?
Yeah, because okay. Well, I mean, there's potential on this show that we'll never find out.
There's no book knowledge going into that because it's again, Varys, like I said, it's totally new that he's over there, and I like that because I love Connaught Hill. I love Varys the way the more I get to see him, the better. He's such an interesting character to me and powerful in his own way, much like Littlefinger. But I don't know. I think he lost a little bit of control.
What for each of you guys was maybe the biggest gameplay or the best scene for you in this episode? Because as we talk about it, though it was a little slow paced, there were some pretty great scenes.
I loved that Missandei and Grey Worm had their lips lock. I think that was really sweet. I was like, yes, nub love.
Nub love.
Yeah.
That was your favorite scene?
I mean, I know what it should be. I know it should be seeing Draconis.
No, that's your favorite scene.
You know me. I love it when Nookie happens.
You love nub love. And did you enjoy Ramsay's dude butt? No? Didn't? No?
No.
Not for you?
And Miranda's hip bone was like a weapon in itself.
Yeah,
that was pointy.
She needed to eat a hamburger.
Yeah.
He doesn't let his girlfriends eat, guys.
I would agree with that.
We are actually asking you guys as well, use the hashtag The Night Is Dark. What is your favourite scene? People are saying that Tyrion seeing the dragon for the first time is definitely their favourite scene of the episode. What about you guys?
For me, it was Jorah saving Tyrion and what that now means. Story-wise, it's pretty big. And it was just a great scene. It was good. It was well shot. It was well paced. It was well everything. It was a fun scene to have.
There's a lot of tension.
Yeah. It was
that was fun. I mean, needed, actually.
Yeah.
It were some of the better scary moments in the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, White Walkers or the others coming back, all that stuff. Like, it had some of that kind of, like, surprise and tension.
I think for me it was a tie for 2 scenes. One, obviously, I love seeing Tyrion see the dragons and Jorah as well. But I loved the dinner scene with Sansa and Theon, or Sansa and Reek and Ramsay and Bolton.
My show.
Just because, exactly, the Boltons. Because I think something I take so for granted on this show is how great the actors are and how well cast it is. Yeah. Because Ramsay just says things and you're like, oh, you're so despicable. And then the moment where, you know, Reek is apologizing to Sansa and you see the look in her eyes and like afterwards they didn't focus on the face. Like they weren't like, oh, we're going to make it so obvious that she's crying. But the camera kind of pans away and she wipes a tear from her face and you're like, man, like
she was
I love that they don't milk stuff at all, where it's like, yes, this is the things that are happening and these are the puzzle pieces that are moving, and people within their own homes and families don't even feel safe and don't know where things are going to land. So that for me was my favorite scene. While
we're there, Ben Drummond has just tweeted in saying, hold on, didn't Theon actually not kill Sansa's little brothers? Yeah, to clarify that,
he doesn't know that.
I think Theon does know that what he had to do when he initially took over Winterfell. They couldn't find Bran or what's his name, Rickon anywhere, and so to make a point, there were 2 farm boys, and he had those bodies burnt and hung them, saying, "Look what I've just done! I've just killed the last sort of lords of Winterfell." But he knows that they weren't the actual.
He knows, but he knows he can't say it.
Yeah,
and he can't say it in front of the Boltons, whether or not they know it or not. He's got to keep that secret all the way to the kennels.
So you were right. Those 2 bodies, they were not Rickon and Bran.
And Sansa definitely doesn't know that.
No, she has no idea. She thinks she's the only one left.
Yeah.
And by the most part, she's the only one that's kind of around at the moment.
Yeah.
Arya's in Bravos. We don't even know where Rickon is. Somewhere with what's her name? Osha.
Yeah.
And Bran's way up north.
Kelsey Davis writes in, can you guys talk about Stannis being a grammar Nazi?
That was my favorite. Actually, that's a great scene.
It's it's turning Stannis into a little bit of a popular character. I feel like
that was the most relatable thing he has ever done.
Except
I'm a grammar Nazi as well.
With his daughter.
And he was like fewer instead of was it less?
You liked that Stannis moment more than his daughter scene?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, respect. That's good.
I thought that was very fun. I really enjoyed that.
It was less about fun and more about he is the one true king.
I'm answering. That's what I felt more for his character when he was just like annoyed about the ineptitude that they have with the language.
Daniel Delgado writes in that is correct. The Boltons already know that Bran and Rickon are still alive because Theon confessed it to Ramsay during his torture, and then they sent Locke behind the wall to get him. So they do kind of know, but I think again. But
did he tell? Does his dad? No,
his dad knows. Yeah, it's okay. But again, my point to that is I knew that. I'm saying is he just wouldn't want to confess that. He doesn't want to do anything wrong. He's tortured by this man. He's lost his wanger to this man. He's just going to yes sir, no sir.
3 bags.
Yeah, and speaking, that was such a tense scene because. He's like, get on your knees. And I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, you were wincing. You were like,
I was like, don't make him touch your non-nub because that's what it seemed like was going to happen.
Tiffany really didn't want to see
I was like, no. And then this is the moment where I screamed, see, guys, maybe he has some good where he says, I forgive you.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't even, that was where that turned where I was like, he already knew what happened and he already knew what he was going to do at dinner to humiliate Sansa in some way. But I was like, he actually might have some twinge of care or something for this person
to win favor with his father. I honestly don't think he's a good person.
No, I don't think
Roose is a good person.
No, Roose is perhaps one of the most diabolical but also weak characters around.
He hides it. Mm-hmm. He hides the awfulness of himself until he shares it with his son now, where he's like, listen, you got this from me, bro.
Yeah. Roose is a very interesting character to me. It's an intriguing character, but all his moves are based on other people helping him, teaming up with other people. He doesn't do a lot on his own.
But that's sometimes the deadliest people where it's like they can manipulate someone else to do the worst part of it. And then guess what? If they get caught, he can be like, I didn't do that.
Yeah, look, if Robb had somehow won and taken the Iron Throne, Roose would have still been at his side. Mm-hmm. He's smart in that way.
Yeah.
And it's so well acted and performed. It's an intriguing character, but I think in terms of the world, he's a bit of a coward compared to the other people. But he's smart. He's very smart to let other people kind of make the moves and kind of go in with them and then take the fattest wife to get the biggest dowry. That's smart.
That is smart, but I mean, it shows what kind of person he is.
Yeah.
Completely.
But I mean, again, it doesn't mean that he won't be the one who actually wins it in the end.
No.
You know?
No.
Father, how did you find it? I was like,
Yeah. That was a bad scene. What was your biggest plot development of the week? What did you guys think? What was the biggest maybe surprise or just biggest?
I mean, I didn't expect Jon to go the other way of the wall when he's trying to make sure that everyone
Going
gets to
hard
safety.
home.
Yeah, I just don't have a good feeling about that.
That for me was the same thing. It's Jon. This episode was titled "Kill the Boy," and now we know it's related to him. It makes sense. That to me, Jon forming an opinion as a leader and making a hard decision to take Tormund and go with Tormund to Hardhome, and create some enemies in the process is the biggest development to me.
I think that I'm really bad at picking one. Clearly, I'm like, I think the two that are tied for me, Dany saying she's going to marry that guy.
Yep.
That's big. Yeah, that's
I think that was just a big, unexpected
his
dart. Yeah.
She was just like, so I'm going to save your life, and I guess we're going to get married.
Do you know what was also cool that I'm literally just thinking right now as we're talking? How much, again, Jon and Dany are in such similar positions, because both of them now are in this position of power. And for Jon, it was like, do what you're thinking you're going to do. Don't hesitate. Just do it, no matter what the outcome is. Same kind of thing with Dany, where Missandei was like, you see things that other people don't see, so do what you're going to do. And she did that. She went in and she's like, okay, this is how it's going to go down. I'm going to say I apologize because I did something wrong. You guys can fight, but it has to be the free people. And we're going to get married. Okay, awesome. See you later. Yeah.
Very.
Dinner's on at 6.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that, and then Jorah getting the grayscale was just a big plot twist because
Clock ticking.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. In the time we have left, maybe as a bonus, I'm editing on the fly here. As a bonus to our fans who've stuck through us tonight on this show, which has
you guys.
some power, some White Walker powers all the way through. Maybe we take a couple questions from the chat room. You guys want to do that?
Oh, yeah. We've got one from Carter Zarin,
and
who's
Twitter
just
as well,
said, do you think that Ramsay will consider killing Heavyset Frey by killing the unborn heir and then becoming the rightful heir?
It's a great
question.
question.
That is so something that he would do. Hell, Roose Bolton saw it happen.
Yeah. I think this is where I said I think he's so manipulatable, easily manipulated.
Where's Stannis to correct you?
Yeah, seriously, Stannis. But that when his father said to him, "No, you're my son," he was like, "Yeah, okay." Like, I think unless he actually thinks, again, that something else comes up that he might be taken off of that position, then he might do that. But right now, I think because he's like, we're gonna do this together, his dad looks him in the eye and he's like, yeah, Dad, okay.
I think
that's all he wants.
He'll get Theon to poison her, maybe.
Yeah.
I
could see that. And it was kind of a Roose power play.
Yeah.
I liked that there. So that, any other questions? Italo Nassau says, Dany, a horrible idea marrying. I don't know. It's a very political idea. It could end up bad, but...
Dario Hotbutt is just there. Seriously.
But guess what? We saw how great that political marriage with Drogo worked out for her.
That's true.
That was a total political marriage.
That's true.
Where are her commanders of...
They're hanging around. The Blood Riders, they're still around.
Okay.
There's not a lot of them left.
They faded into the background.
Yeah, they're not...
Come back.
Not that they're not
now
important.
Now she's got the Unsullied.
Yeah. Jury Mergelli, I say these names so horribly. Will we
phonetically,
see?
how do you say your name? Because I love your conversations. You're very, very smart, but we just butcher your name every single time. I'd like to get it right.
Will we see any White Walkers when Jon goes north to
100%.
Hardhome? Yes,
100%.
absolutely, absolutely. That's where we're going to see our White Walkers. Whatever happened to Gendry, the blacksmith who was a king?
I'd be okay seeing more Gendry.
Ethan Greenberg asked that, and I know you want more Gendry. Gendry, Christopher says Gendry is still rowing.
What was the last scene that we saw with Gendry?
He was being freed by Davos.
Davos just pushed him off into a boat.
Yes.
This is how you row.
Yeah.
Go that way. Good luck.
What is interesting, it's something that you can't really predict because Gendry is an amalgamation of two characters, so there could be two different directions, and one of them leads nowhere really, and one of them leads to the Brothers Without Banners, which is kind of out of sight, out of mind right now on the show too. So Gendry, he's just chilling, waiting for Maude to show up in a tavern.
I mean, he can take a ticket because, like, Dario. my heart.
Maude and I had a funny conversation in the beginning. If you guys, I watch a lot of television, but the same actor who plays Dario also plays a character on Orphan Black. And I'm like, I'm totally into him on Orphan Black, but I'm totally not into him on Game of Thrones. So if you guys watch either show, obviously you watch Game of Thrones, but if you watch Orphan Black, let me know what you guys think of him on that show. He also was on Nashville for a little bit too.
Don't make me watch that show.
The guy works a lot. He works
married.
a lot.
Ben Drummond asks.
That was the greatest segue of all time.
That's right. Ben Drummond asks, am I wrong for not trusting Ollie up at the wall, the little kid, for the rest of this show?
Well, he's resenting Snoot at the moment.
Some
for that
pretty
decision.
clear and present resentment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what was nice about that scene, and again, it's like, does Jon trust people too much in some cases where he's like, tell me what you're thinking, it's okay. And under one circumstance, you'd be like, guys who are in that position of power don't need to hear what a kid has to say or care.
Yep.
But Jon does. He shares with him, and then he's like, well, you'll understand. And he's like, do you need anything else from me, Commander? And that's it. So it could come back to bite him. But
he's good with the bow and arrow, so we've seen a crossbow, I should say.
Yeah.
Another one from Carter, who's just said, which is a really great point, is the Stark-Bolton marriage with Sansa and Ramsay going to be legal because she's still married to Tyrion?
Good point.
Yeah, right. I don't know what the laws are there.
It might be a little loophole that the TV show producers didn't really count on us asking, because that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, or it's that they assume that if someone hasn't reappeared, that he's dead. And so it's like, okay,
He's
so
on
if
the
they're
run.
assuming that...
I don't think Ramsay cares.
Yeah. Well, and if they assume he's dead, guess what? That leaves a great comeback for Tyrion to come back.
That's my wife!
And Sansa's like, oh, yes, I don't have to be married to this guy anymore.
God, that's such a win-win situation that Sansa's been in, huh?
Bartimaeus-
No track record for husbands.
Yep.
It's a bad one. Almost like Marjorie. Bartimaeus ATL asks, is Jon going to learn about Sansa? I believe he absolutely will learn about Sansa being at Winterfell.
Yes.
The
day
letter
now.
interactions that they keep getting back and forth, that he knows that the Boltons are there, that, Stannis is going that direction. As soon as Stannis finds out that Sansa's there, I think that it immediately will get back to the wall.
Yeah.
Because, as you've said, Stannis seems like he's going to be a pretty good guy sometimes. And so I think he'd want to let... It was really painful to say. That he would want to let Jon know that Sansa's there.
Yeah. And
one last one?
Yeah, one last one from Matt Brown. Did Sansa only blow off Brienne because Littlefinger was there? Will Sansa go with her if she has a chance, or will she stay to continue to, quote, play the game?
I think Brienne comes on too hard, Like, she's quite intimidating. I want to protect you! And you're
Come
like,
with me!
What's your name again? And I think that Sansa has bonded with Littlefinger over these last few weeks. She's not, he saved her. He's changed her. He's made sure that she survives. I mean, I think only now that she feels betrayed by... Littlefinger by going, hey, by the way, I'm marrying you off to the family that killed your brother and your mother and, etc. She could twist on that, but I forgot the question.
Well, we had some clarification just came over, too. Jay Shufflebosen and Zach Turner both said, hey, don't forget, Sansa never consummated the marriage with Tyrion.
Yes.
So her marriage
So they're not married.
to Ramsay would
that's
be
right.
legal.
She didn't let him put it in.
You got to have sex for it to count.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that...
I have been married before then.
How many times?
Enough.
What was the last question that we got about Sansa?
The last question is, do you think Sansa is playing going to stick around to play the game, or just was trying to be nice in front of Littlefinger?
I think that for her it was take the devil that I know. She knows that she's safe with Littlefinger, as safe as she can be at this point. Let me get to Winterfell. Let me see what's going on there. Let me get my bearings again. And then, yes, I think because of now these connections with the North folk that have been saying, we're with you, there's still people here who remember. If then Brienne comes to her through them, I think she'll 100% trust her even more. And I think that scene alone, if Sansa has learned anything, that solidified the trust that Littlefinger has in her by her rejecting Brienne. If she had been open to Brienne a little bit more, I think Littlefinger would have been like, oh, I don't think what I've been doing has been working enough. I don't think she's as under my finger or as trusting in me as I need her to be.
All right.
That's great.
Good last one.
Well thought out. You
Fantastic.
know Sansa well.
Guys, we did have a few technical hiccups during the show, but thank you so much for sticking around. If you only just caught the end of it, don't worry. This full episode will be available on youtube.com/geekbomb. Geek Bombshells as well. I think we've done a bit of a URL change, but you'll find us. We're the pink bomb. Can't miss it. It's also going to be available on audio. Just look up the Knapsock Files on Podomatic, Stitcher, and iTunes. Now, you've been rating your tits off with this podcast, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. That's a, yeah.
Whatever that phrase
Is that
means.
Australian for awesome?
Rating its tits off.
Yeah, no, we've been getting a lot of great ratings and moving up the charts on Podomatic.
Really? No one says that?
Nope. No one says that.
No.
Writing, as in writing?
Rating.
Oh, rating.
Rating.
Rating your tits off.
No.
Hashtag that. Hashtag gray dick. Hashtag nub love. No? I don't know what's happening. You're a hashtag machine.
I guess so.
Anyways, you can find the show, like Maude said, on Stitcher, iTunes, or Podomatic. And, of course, Tiffany Smith on her YouTube channel has our bonus videos.
Yep.
Called Full of Terrors.
Last week we did some of our favorite quotes from Game of Thrones. We've obviously sung the Game of Thrones theme song, which everyone who watches the show does. Don't lie to us, because we know you've done it. And this week's bonus video is going to be about the characters that we think have had the best arcs on Game of Thrones. So definitely go to my YouTube page, subscribe, and thank you as always to I See the Frog. Make sure you guys are following us all on Twitter, because every day we update, we post where the links are to everything, so you don't miss anything from The Night is Dark or from End Full of Terrors.
And follow the live stream as well, which you're on right now. There's a little follow button. I think it's to the right. Just click that one, because we're on every single week. And you can get it live first before the days go on.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're in it to win it. If you've watched the episode, you want to talk about it straight away. If you need a little bit of a time, to process it all, we've got you back for that as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Twitter handles, we've said it all. Give us all a follow and a like. We'll see you next week. This has been The Night is Dark. Well done, guys.